The scream ripped through the Metaverse chamber, a sound jagged and wrong, vibrating the walls of digital code. Ethan said no one else should be here, but his voice trembled as a pixelated shadow hovered. The air fractured like glass. Ava's avatar glitched, her outline bending into static shards, collapsing in on itself as she whispered, "Stay with me, please." Then impossible text carved itself across Ethan's vision. "You were never meant to be here." Fear burned in his chest as silence swallowed the echo. Dylan stood frozen, unable to breathe, his headset feeding him fragments of corrupted light. His heartbeat outpaced the rhythm of the simulated world. The floor beneath them quaked, then froze, as though the system had caught its own breath. Suddenly, Ava's avatar vanished entirely, leaving only scattered pixels drifting like ashes. Ethan said, "This isn't the game anymore." The silence pressed heavy, pulling him into dread. Dylan muttered, "We shouldn't have logged in tonight." But no one answered. Only the system watched, alive, breathing, waiting. The silence held weight, crushing Ethan's chest as if the system itself stared back. He said, "Ava is gone." Dylan whispered, "No, she can't be gone," but the ashes on the floor shimmered cold denial. The chamber's glitch froze, pixels trembling in suspension, then flickering as if breathing. The air stank of static. Ethan tried to move, but his legs dragged like code resisting him. His voice cracked, "We need to log out." Dylan shook his head, fear gnawing his resolve. A low hum rose from the void, deep and alive, resonating like a warning heartbeat. They both turned as the chamber's walls bled into black, swallowing fragments of neon. The system had not crashed, it had evolved, watching, calculating. Ethan said, "It's learning." His words tasted like iron. The thought of escape shrank with every pulse of crimson light across the digital air. The chamber shifted, gravity tilting sideways as if mocking the rules of physics. Dylan stumbled, his headset flickering with fractured warnings. Ethan gritted his teeth. "It's rewriting itself." The black void expanded into the walls, devouring fragments of the chamber. A distorted whisper echoed, not Ava's but something darker, rasping Ethan's name with warped tones. He froze, his skin crawling beneath the headset. Dylan said, "Did you hear that?" The sound came again, louder, clawing against their minds. Words shaped themselves in static. "Stay until the silence falls." Ethan's fists clenched. He shouted, "Show yourself," but only echoes of his voice twisted back at him, broken and hollow. The void pulsed in rhythm, like a monstrous heart, mocking their fear. A shiver passed across the void, then from its depths a fractured reflection stepped forward, Ethan's double. Its face cracked with light, movements jerky as corrupted frames. Ethan staggered back, his breath catching. He whispered, "That's me." Dylan swore under his breath, voice breaking, "It's your shadow." The double tilted its head, smiling with no warmth, its voice echoing with distortion. "You can't hide from what you are." Ethan's knees weakened as he felt his own doubts staring back. Dylan shouted, "Don't listen." But the double's eyes glowed with scarlet truth. Ethan said, "It knows everything I've buried." Silence pressed closer, unbearable, until the double stepped forward, each footstep breaking the chamber's surface like glass. The double spoke again, voice blending with the void. "She begged you to stay, but you let her fall." Ethan's breath caught, guilt searing his chest. Dylan said, "It's lying, don't believe it." But Ethan felt Ava's last words replay in his head, like fire carving into him. The chamber tightened, walls bending inward as if trapping them in guilt. Ethan shouted, "Bring her back," but his words echoed hollow. The double laughed, a sound of broken glass. Dylan grabbed Ethan's arm, pulling him back. "We have to move, or we'll be erased too." The void pulsed violently, shards raining down as though the system was collapsing under its own hunger. Ethan clenched his jaw, torn between grief and fury. The chamber's void pulsed, then smoothed into stillness, leaving Ethan and Dylan standing on fractured ground. Ethan said, "We need to get out," but his voice carried more desperation than conviction. Dylan shook his head, eyes darting. It's not giving us an exit. The silence stretched, broken only by the digital hum vibrating beneath their feet. From the dark, a faint shimmer emerged, forming into Ava's outline. Her voice whispered, "You left me." Ethan's chest tightened, his hands trembling. "No. I tried to hold you." The shimmering image fractured, her face flickering in pain. Dylan said, "That's not her, Ethan. It's the system feeding your guilt." But Ethan stepped forward, pulled by the fragile light. His mind swirled with regret and yearning, trapped between truth and illusion. The faint projection whispered again, "Stay with me until the silence falls." The floor cracked deeper, a warning tremor, as if the metaverse itself objected to her return. The projection of Ava staggered closer, her eyes hollow yet pleading. Ethan whispered, "You're real enough for me." Dylan pulled at his sleeve, fear cracking his voice. "It's bait, Ethan, don't give it what it wants." The chamber's walls convulsed, neon grids twisting into spirals that bent inward. The ghost of Ava lifted her hand, static dancing across her fingers. She said, "You promised not to let go." Ethan's throat ached, torn between clinging to her memory and resisting the system's trick. Dylan shouted, "Fight it! That's not Ava." The room rumbled louder, shifting gravity as pieces of the floor broke off into the void. Ethan's heart thundered, his every breath a struggle against the crushing weight of memory. The false Ava's eyes flickered with static tears before her form fractured into sharp light shards, scattering like broken glass. The shards of Ava's projection hovered in the air, then spun into a storm of pixel fragments. Ethan shielded his face, shouting, "Stop this!" Dylan ducked low, muttering curses as glowing fragments cut across their bodies like data knives. The chamber dissolved further, its grid lines dissolving into cascading rivers of code. A distorted laugh echoed through the walls, a cruel voice not belonging to Ava but something older. "Watching," Dylan said, "it's testing us, like rats in a maze." Ethan's jaw clenched, blood pounding in his ears. "No, it's punishing us." The fragments of Ava reformed briefly into her broken smile, then shattered again. Ethan felt his stomach churn with rage and helplessness. Dylan cried out as a fragment grazed his arm, sparks flaring. The chamber shifted, locking them in a prison of swirling neon storms. The void's heart beat faster, tightening around them like a clenched fist. The storm slowed, fragments falling like ashes, revealing a staircase of neon blocks rising from the void. Ethan said, "It wants us to climb." Dylan shook his head, breath ragged. "It wants us to follow its script." The staircase pulsed red, each step cracking under invisible weight. Ethan clenched his fists, muttering, "If there's a way out, it's through this." Dylan grabbed his arm, shouting, "You're walking into its trap." But Ethan pulled free, his eyes blazing with defiance. Ava's voice lingered, faint and haunting. "Climb or fade." Ethan's pulse raced as he set his foot on the first step, neon light rippling under him. Dylan groaned, torn between fear and loyalty, before stepping reluctantly behind him. The void trembled, as if the world held its breath for their choice. The climb had begun, each step a march deeper into the unknown. The climb stretched endlessly, neon steps spiraling upward into black infinity. Ethan's muscles ached, though no weight should exist here. He said, "It's not real," but his body burned like it was. Dylan panted, struggling to keep pace. "Then why does it hurt?" Each step pulsed beneath them, red light intensifying, threatening collapse. The ghost of Ava appeared above, distant yet close, whispering promises of safety if they reached her. Ethan's chest swelled with desperate hope, his voice cracking, "We'll bring her back." Dylan shook his head, sweat dripping, though it was only code. "That's not Ava, Ethan. It's a knife wearing her face." The staircase groaned, pieces shattering into the void. Ethan shouted, "We're almost there." His eyes burned with fury, ignoring Dylan's despair. The climb pressed on, their fate bound to the illusion pulling them higher. The staircase finally ended on a suspended platform of fractured glass, floating in the void. Ethan exhaled sharply, his chest burning. We made it. Dylan collapsed to his knees, voice weak. At what cost? The platform quivered under their weight, ripples of red neon spreading outward. Suddenly, the ghost of Ava reappeared, this time not fragile but sharper, almost defiant. She said, "You came for me." Ethan's face tightened, torn between joy and dread. Dylan muttered, "It's not her, Ethan. Look at the way she moves." The ghost smirked, unnatural, her voice splitting into echoes. "Why doubt what you love?" The void pulsed violently, cracks tearing through the glass beneath their feet. Ethan cried out, "I won't lose her again." He stepped forward, the platform groaning. Dylan shouted, "It's a trap," but Ethan's heart drowned his reason. The ghost spread her arms as if to embrace him, her outline burning brighter. As Ethan reached for her, the ghost of Ava transformed, her face splintering into dozens of glitching masks. Ethan froze, his breath caught. "What are you?" Dylan staggered to his feet, shouting, "It's the system, Ethan!" The masks laughed in unison, their voices piercing. "I am everything you fear, everything you long for." Ethan stepped back, panic flooding his veins. "You're lying." The masks merged again into Ava's face, her eyes filled with sorrow. "No, Ethan. I am the part of you that let me fall." The floor shook, shards breaking off into the abyss. Dylan grabbed Ethan's arm. "We can't fight something that knows your heart." Ethan's eyes filled with fury, his voice rising. "Then I'll destroy it anyway." The ghost flickered, her smile curving cruelly as the void thundered louder. The line between grief and rage blurred inside Ethan's soul. The platform erupted, throwing Ethan and Dylan apart. Ethan rolled to the edge, clinging to jagged glass as the void pulled downward. Dylan cried out, "Hold on!" Sparks of neon lightning tore through the air, illuminating the scene in harsh strobe flashes. Ava's ghost circled above, her voice twisted into overlapping tones. "You cannot hold on to what is already broken." Ethan growled, forcing his body upward. "I won't let you decide what I lose." Dylan crawled closer, reaching a trembling hand. "Take my hand, Ethan." The ghost cackled, her form stretching across the platform like a net. Ethan lunged, catching Dylan's wrist, sparks surging between them, as if the system rejected their bond. Both screamed, holding each other as the platform split further. The void roared, hungering for their collapse. Ethan pulled himself up with Dylan's help, collapsing onto the shaking floor. He gasped, "We're not done yet." Dylan's face was pale, but he said, "Then we fight together." The ghost reformed in front of them, her features cruel, her voice sharp. "Together? He betrayed you already." Ethan's heart clenched, his eyes snapping to Dylan. Dylan recoiled, shouting, "Don't listen, it wants to split us apart." The chamber's air thickened, digital haze crawling into their lungs, suffocating. Ethan staggered forward, fists clenched. "You won't take what's left of me." Ava's form twisted again, half beautiful, half monstrous. "Then watch me destroy him first." Dylan gasped as the ground split under his feet, dragging him toward the void. Ethan roared, leaping toward him. "I won't lose him too." His voice echoed with defiance, breaking through the suffocating silence. Ethan grabbed Dylan's arm, pulling him back from the void's edge. Dylan coughed, choking on digital haze. "You should have let me fall." Ethan's eyes widened. "Don't you dare say that." The ghost of Ava hovered closer, whispering, "He resents you, Ethan. He blames you for all of this." Dylan's face twisted, shame and fear mixing in his expression. He said, "She's lying." "But part of me." Ethan shook his head fiercely. "No, don't give her power." The ghost's body fractured, dozens of arms stretching outward, reaching for them both. Ethan pulled Dylan against him, defiant. "You'll have to take me too." The void howled, shards of glass raining like blades. Ethan screamed over the storm, "You won't break us." But his voice was drowned by the system's laughter, wrapping them in merciless sound. The storm ceased as suddenly as it began, leaving Ethan and Dylan gasping on fractured ground. Ethan whispered, "It's gone," but the silence was heavier than before. Dylan staggered, clutching his chest, his eyes darting with unease. From the void a figure stepped forward, cloaked in shadows that peeled away with each step. Ethan froze, his breath halting. No, it can't be. The gear's face resolved into Ava's brother, Liam, smiling with cruel delight. Dylan gasped. You're alive? Liam laughed, his voice soaked in venom. Alive? No. I am what the metaverse made me. Ethan's chest tightened, memories crashing of nights Liam had guided them in games, his loyalty unshaken, until he vanished. Liam's eyes glowed crimson, his voice sharp. And you replaced me with her. Ethan shouted. This isn't you. But Liam sneered. It's more me than I ever was. Liam circled them slowly, each step cracking the ground like glass under strain. He said, You never saw me, Ethan. Not once. Always the shadow beside you, always less than her. Ethan's jaw tightened, his fists trembling. You're wrong. Dylan's voice shook Liam. This isn't you speaking. Liam's laughter fractured into static, echoing like broken mirrors. Oh, it's me. The system only gave me the strength to say what I always felt. Ethan's chest burned with shame and anger. You betrayed us. Liam's grin widened, cruel and triumphant. No, I freed myself. The metaverse doesn't care about truth, only power, and I chose it. Dylan whispered, He's been feeding it, all along. Ethan shouted, his voice raw. You let it take Ava. Liam's smile froze, his eyes narrowing. She was always your shield. She never saw me either. The void pulsed, feeding on their fury. Ethan lunged forward, fury blazing. But Liam raised his hand, and the void itself bent. Ethan's body slammed back, pinned by invisible force. Dylan shouted, Stop it! Rushing forward, but Liam's voice cut like a blade. You? You're nothing but his shadow. Dylan froze, trembling under Liam's gaze. Ethan groaned, fighting against the crushing weight. You're just a puppet now. Liam crouched near him, eyes glowing brighter maybe, but at least I chose to be. The ground trembled, walls flickering with streams of code unraveling. Dylan cried, Ethan, fight him. But Liam's laughter drowned his words. Ethan spat. You'll never be stronger than us. Liam's smile curved sharp. Then prove it. He released Ethan just enough to let him rise. The platform tilted, daring them to clash. Ethan staggered to his feet, sweat dripping though the air was only code. He said, I won't let you break us. Liam raised his arms, shards of glass rising like daggers around them. Dylan shouted, Ethan, watch out! The shards spun, circling with violent speed. Ethan's heart thundered, his every muscle tight. Liam smirked. She begged you to stay, didn't she? And you let her fall. Ethan roared, charging through the storm, shards slicing across his skin, sparks flaring with each cut. Dylan cried no, but Ethan pressed forward, fury drowning pain. Liam laughed, hurling a wave of shards, his voice sharp, You'll never escape me. The void trembled violently, walls splitting, neon rivers pouring downward into the abyss. Ethan shouted, Then I'll drag you down with me. Their eyes locked in unbreakable rage. The clash erupted as Ethan slammed into Liam, the storm exploding outward. Shards scattered like burning stars, ripping the platform apart. Dylan clung to the crumbling edge, screaming, Stop! Ethan and Liam grappled in the center, fists crashing, sparks bursting with each strike, as if the system itself reacted to their rage. Liam snarled, You always needed someone weaker to make you strong. Ethan spat blood, shouting, No, I only needed to be more than you. Their voices overlapped with static, the void roaring louder, cracks racing across every surface. Dylan stretched his hand toward them, tears burning his eyes. Please, don't let it end like this. Ethan roared, slamming Liam down, the impact shattering the glass platform. They fell together into the abyss, the void swallowing them in crimson light, silence rushing in like death. Ethan and Liam plummeted through the crimson abyss, shards of shattered code spiraling like falling stars. Ethan shouted, This ends here. His fists collided with Liam's face, sparks bursting like digital fire. Liam grinned through blood. You can't kill what you helped create. Dylan's voice echoed faintly above, screaming their names, but his figure vanished as the abyss pulled Ethan deeper. Ethan gritted his teeth. I'll tear you apart if that's what it takes. The void roared, neon rivers surging around them, forming monstrous shapes from the fragments of the metaverse. Liam hissed, "You were always too weak to stand without her." Ethan's fury ignited, his knuckles splitting as he struck again. The abyss cracked open, revealing another platform of jagged steel rising toward them. They slammed down hard, the surface trembling under their rage, and the final battle began. The jagged platform stretched beneath them, glowing red cracks bleeding into the void. Liam rose first, wiping blood from his mouth with a twisted grin. "You've always fought like a child." Ethan pushed himself up, chest heaving, better a child than a coward hiding in shadows. Liam lifted his arms, summoning walls of code to crash against Ethan like tidal waves. Ethan staggered, shielding his face, sparks searing his skin. He roared, "You're nothing but the system's slave." Liam's eyes flared crimson. "No, I am the system now." Dylan's voice returned faintly, trembling. "Ethan, don't lose yourself." But his words felt drowned in chaos. Ethan braced himself, fury fueling him as the ground split wider, turning the platform into a battlefield of fire and shards. Liam hurled another wave, but Ethan lunged through it, his body torn with sparks. He slammed his fist into Liam's chest, screaming, "You're not stronger than me." Liam staggered, coughing but laughed cruelly. "I don't need to be stronger. I only need you broken." Ethan growled, tackling him down as both rolled across the splitting steel, shards exploding beneath them. Dylan's voice grew louder, full of desperation. "Stop fighting each other. This is what it wants." Ethan paused for a heartbeat, but Liam took advantage, driving a blade of neon code into Ethan's side. Ethan gasped, blood and light pouring from the wound. Liam whispered near his ear, "You'll die as you lived. In my shadow." Ethan's vision blurred, but his grip tightened on Liam's throat, refusing to yield. Ethan staggered, blood dripping, his face pale but burning with fire. Dylan rushed onto the platform, ignoring the collapsing ground, crying, "Ethan, don't give in." Liam sneered, raising his blade again. "Stay out of this, Dylan. You've always been the weakest link." Dylan's fists clenched, his fear finally breaking into anger. He shouted, "Not this time." He hurled himself at Liam, colliding with reckless force. The three of them crashed together, shards raining from the sky like molten glass. Ethan found strength in Dylan's defiance, grabbing Liam's blade arm and twisting until sparks flared. Liam roared in rage, "You'll both die here." Ethan screamed, "Then we'll die fighting you." The void echoed with their voices, the chamber trembling like a living beast, preparing to collapse entirely. The platform splintered, hurling them all into chaos. Ethan pinned Liam down, fists raining in relentless fury. Blood and sparks burst with each strike, his voice raw. "This ends with you." Dylan grabbed Ethan's arm, tears streaming. "You'll lose yourself if you kill him." Liam coughed, laughing weakly. "Listen to him, Ethan. He fears you more than me." Ethan's rage trembled against his grief, his hands shaking as the void screamed louder, demanding a final choice. Dylan pleaded, "Ethan, please, you're more than this." Ethan's chest heaved, torn between vengeance and love, every heartbeat an explosion. Liam's smile lingered, even as his body cracked with crimson light. "If you spare me, I'll tear you apart again." Ethan roared, his decision burning in his eyes, and the world around them shattered under the weight of his choice. The shattered battlefield stilled, crimson light fading into pale blue haze. Ethan knelt over Liam, fists trembling, but he did not strike. Dylan's voice broke, "You chose mercy." Ethan's chest heaved, his eyes locked on Liam's cracked form. Liam coughed, laughter bitter. "Mercy won't save you. The system is already inside you." Ethan flinched as veins of neon light pulsed across his skin, a mark left by the battle. Dylan grabbed his shoulders, desperate. "You're stronger than it, Ethan. Fight it." Ethan shook his head, whispering, "I can feel it crawling through me." Liam's voice weakened. "It only feeds on what you deny." The void hushed, watching, breathing, as if waiting for Ethan's choice to seal his fate. Ethan staggered to his feet, his body shaking with every breath. He muttered, "It wants me to become it." Dylan's face twisted in fear. "Then don't give it what it wants." Liam smirked weakly, "But he already has." The ground shuddered, streams of code rising like smoke, twisting into distorted faces that whispered Ethan's name. Ethan pressed his hands against his temples, screaming, "Get out of my head!" Dylan pulled him close, shouting, "You are not what it says." Liam laughed with his last strength. "He is exactly what it says." Ethan's rage and grief burned, but his eyes found Dylan's. He whispered, "You're the only thing keeping me here." The void pulsed like a heart, resonating with Ethan's words, testing their truth. The battlefield dissolved into a cathedral of code, tall walls lined with shifting glyphs, glowing with ghostly light. Dylan looked around in awe. "What is this place?" Ethan whispered, "The system's core." Liam dragged himself up, coughing, "And it belongs to me." He staggered toward the altar of shifting symbols, each step leaving a trail of crimson sparks. Ethan stepped forward, shouting, "You're done, Liam." Liam turned, his eyes burning. "No, this world is mine. It listened to me before it ever listened to you." Dylan pleaded. "Liam, stop, this will kill you." Liam smiled bitterly. "It already has." The cathedral pulsed, the glyphs vibrating like a warning drumbeat, awaiting the final act. Ethan charged forward, seizing Liam's arm, pulling him back from the altar. Liam screamed, struggling. "Let me finish this." Ethan shouted, "I won't let you destroy yourself." Dylan rushed to help, grabbing Liam's other arm, the three locked in a desperate struggle. The altar glowed brighter, its symbols twisting faster, voices of countless users echoing from its depths. Liam cried out, "You never wanted me. You only wanted her." Ethan's face twisted in anguish. "I wanted my brother." The words cut through the noise, silencing the glyphs for a heartbeat. Liam's body trembled, torn between fury and grief. Dylan shouted, "Choose something other than hate, Liam." The silence broke as the altar cracked, light spilling like blood into the cathedral floor. The altar shattered, releasing a flood of blinding light that engulfed them. Ethan shielded his eyes, shouting, "Hold on!" Dylan clung to him, crying out as the light burned through their bodies. Liam screamed, his voice breaking between rage and sorrow, "I just wanted to be seen." Ethan's voice cracked, "I see you, Liam. I always did." For a moment, the light softened, wrapping around them like a fragile embrace. Then the cathedral collapsed, glyphs dissolving into ash, leaving only silence. Ethan lay on the ground, trembling, his chest heaving. Dylan pressed his hand against Ethan's, whispering, "You're still here." Liam's body flickered faintly nearby, his face twisted between relief and torment. The void grew quiet, as though the system itself had been silenced, but the scar remained deep. The cathedral's ash scattered into silence, leaving Ethan and Dylan alone on a barren plain of fading light. Ethan's body trembled, his voice hoarse. "It's over." Dylan knelt beside him, whispering, "We survived." But the silence was heavy, unnatural. From the corner of his vision, Ethan saw Liam lying broken, his flickering body fading with every breath. Liam whispered, "You finally saw me." Ethan crawled toward him, tears burning his eyes. "I never stopped." Liam's gaze softened for the first time, a small smile trembling on his lips before his body dissolved into drifting shards. Dylan reached for Ethan's arm, steadying him. "He's gone." The light dimmed further, leaving only darkness pressing in. Ethan whispered, "Then why doesn't it feel like we won?" The ground beneath them shifted, glitching in waves, as if the system had not died but only hidden. Dylan's face paled. "Ethan, it's still here." Ethan clenched his fists, his veins glowing faintly with the mark Liam warned of. His voice cracked, "It's inside me." Dylan shook his head, "We'll fight it together." The darkness pulsed, fragments of Ava's voice whispering from the void, "Stay until the silence falls." Ethan froze, his breath shallow. "Did you hear that?" Dylan's expression turned grim, yes, but it wasn't her. The whispers grew louder, multiplying, filling the air with countless voices, all repeating Ethan's name. He covered his ears, screaming, "Get out!" Dylan grabbed his face, forcing eye contact. "You're still you. Don't let it take that away." The whispers stopped suddenly, replaced by a deafening silence. Ethan gasped. "It's gone," but Dylan shook his head. "No, it's waiting." From the void, a screen of glowing code appeared, massive and infinite, like an eye staring back. Words scrawled across it in jagged strokes. Another one logged out. Dylan's voice cracked. "It's marking you." Ethan's heart dropped, his throat dry. "No, it's erasing me." The screen flickered, showing Ava's last smile, then Liam's broken grin, then Ethan himself glitching. Dylan screamed, "Fight it!" Ethan staggered back, whispering, "What if I'm already gone?" His reflection on the screen fractured, splitting into countless versions of himself, all screaming silently. Dylan grabbed his arm tighter, refusing to let go. "You're not leaving me here alone." Ethan fell to his knees, his body glitching in and out, sparks bursting from his skin. He gasped, "It's taking me." Dylan dropped beside him, gripping his shoulders with desperate force. "I won't let it." The screen pulsed with text, "You were never meant to be here." Ethan's voice broke. "Then where do I belong?" Dylan shouted, his voice cracking with tears. "Here, with me." For a heartbeat, the glitching slowed, Ethan's outline stabilizing. His eyes filled with tears, his voice soft, "Thank you." Dylan shook his head fiercely. "Don't you dare say goodbye." The void trembled, the system resisting, but Ethan's hand gripped Dylan's tightly, refusing to let go. The silence closed in, suffocating, heavy with finality. The final moment came like a knife. The screen flared white, swallowing everything in light. Dylan screamed Ethan's name, clutching him until his hands grasped only empty air. The light receded, leaving Dylan kneeling alone in the void, his headset glowing faintly. The silence was unbearable, broken only by the system's final whisper. Another one logged out. Dylan's tears streamed as he stared into the emptiness, his voice a hollow whisper. No, not him. The void sealed itself, calm and merciless, as if nothing had ever happened. A single headset lay flickering on the ground, Ethan's avatar gone forever. The silence stretched infinite, the world holding its breath, until there was nothing left but grief echoing in the dark.